Welcome to Bring Your Brilliance. Are you ready to find and amplify your voice? Looking to be inspired by those who are already out there making it happen? Listen in as we shine a light on those who bring their full, authentic selves to do what they love, make no apologies, and don't try to fit into other people's boxes. With your host, Carla Taylor, who, after years of being inspired by the brilliantly shining people she was meeting, decided others need to hear these stories too.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Bring Your Brilliance radio show. I am your host, Carla Taylor, and we are back again today with some fantastic information for you. I am going to be interviewing Rene Deal in just a moment, but first I wanted to tell you a little bit about some of the things that I've been doing to manage and ignite my own energy. That's a lot of what I talk about with a lot of my clients, and what you'll be hearing as you listen to more and more episodes is really how do you bring your brilliance in a consistent way. And that, for me, really is about bringing your best self and doing the things that you do well and doing them consistently, and really creating a life around consistently bringing your brilliance to work and everywhere else with you. And so one of the things that I've been working on is, like I said, managing my own energy. We're going to talk in a moment about actually a session that I did with Rene. But I also am very cognizant of when I have high and low energy in my work. So right now I'm on a very heads down type of project in front of my computer, which is not my favorite place to be. And so I'm deliberately scheduling in breaks into my day. And I just had to share, because I'm kind of excited, that yesterday at the end of my working day, I worked till 5, and then my reward was I actually went, it was a beautiful weather day, so I went and did a quick test drive of a Ford Mustang convertible. I went to the gym, and then I went kayaking on a lake nearby. So it was really, really fun. It was really rejuvenating. Came home and worked some more. But it's really about managing your energy and keeping your energy going, especially when you've got a lot of low energy stuff that you're doing for a while. So I just wanted to share that win. And now let's go ahead and jump into talking with Rene, because she's all about energy. And so a little bit of background. As you know, finding your voice and bringing your brilliance starts with having the physical health and emotional energy to fuel your journey. Excuse me. Rene is a compassionate and authentic practitioner who specializes in energetic living, and that is the name of your company. Is that correct, Rene?
Yes, it is.
Yes. So we will talk more about how to find her and website, but it is energetic living. She walks the talk and has worked to transform her own health, mind, body, and spirit. She now employs a multitude of modalities, techniques, to help her clients transform their emotional and digestive challenges to unlock their true inner joy and happiness. So as you're listening, please feel free to call in with your questions to learn more about Rene's own personal journey, as well as how she uses natural healing and the process of the body, the natural healing process of the body, to help energize and ignite the energy for her clients around the world. She does work internationally. She does work online, and we're going to talk a little bit more about that and my experience with that. She helps gently guide people from the emotional baggage and trauma of their lives to live a life full of joy, love, and vitality. So, Rene, let's go ahead and jump right in. Tell us a little bit more about you, what all those wonderful words actually mean, and how did you get here to this part of your journey? So walk us a little bit through your background, what you used to do in your career even before, and how you've gotten here. But let's start with what are we talking about? What is it that all of that stuff means that you do, and then what was your journey to get there?
Oh, girl, it's been a journey, let me tell you. So it started out a few years ago that it started out with the health of my middle daughter, who struggled for years, about 7 years, with just severe IBS. And, we went the whole Western medicine route, and it was just pill after pill, and there's just really were not resolving my daughter's issues. And, we were getting to the point that she literally just could not get out of bed. I mean, she lost probably 3 or 4 months of her senior year in high school. It was bad.
Oh, wow. That's
really so we were just
I think there's such a... Go ahead.
And
I think
we
there's
were
such a place
just
for Western medicine in our world, but there's also a lot that it lacks sometimes. Like I think Western medicine tends to treat the symptoms and not the root problem. And so it's something I've also found in my own health journey is that I need to look at all of the different things available and look sometimes deeper than what information I might be getting from one source or another. And that's what I'm so thrilled about in finding you and what you do is there's been so much that I've looked at and done, and you kind of combine it all. So get back to you. And so your daughter lost, you said 3 or 4 months of her senior year?
Yeah, just lost 3 or 4 months, and it was just, heartbreaking for us as parents. And, top specialist at Riley Hospital here in Indianapolis just, looking at our daughter and saying, no, suck it up, this is the rest of your life. Well, I'm sorry, you don't say that to a mama bear.
Yeah.
So we just,
so clearly that was
it
not
took
an
us a
answer
few
you
years.
were going to accept.
No, we weren't expecting that at all. So we just had somebody come up beside us and say, hey, would you mind having an open mind? And we're like, sure. And that really just started my whole journey down with alternative medicine.
Okay, so you didn't get an answer you even wanted to hear. You realized there's got to be something more. Now, who was it that came and asked if you were open to something different?
Yes, we had a friend that was involved with alternative medicine and knew a kinesiologist. So we took our middle daughter to this kinesiologist, and he was able just to deliver us some really great information in 1 hour. And it totally scientifically made sense to everything that was going on with our daughter, and I was totally blown away.
Wow. So you got this great information from the doctor. What happened next?
So we, it took about a year to heal her. It was not an easy journey for her, and we had to look at nutrition. We worked with him. He was a kinesiologist, so he worked with a lot of muscle response testing to really figure out what was going on with her. And what we figured out was that she was very protein deficient and fat deficient, meaning that she was either one, not eating enough, two, not digesting it, or a combination where she's not eating, digesting, or utilizing it. Her body wasn't utilizing it enough. And so what that did was made her very, in her colon, she was almost to the point, because she had so much toxins in her, she was almost to the point of bleeding out.
Wow. That sounds awful.
And yet, Western medicine, I know, it was. And yet, Western medicine, wanted to just pop another pill in her, where with alternative medicine, they definitely had us looking at some root causes. So having to change her food, changing her diet. Now, at this time, we weren't looking at the emotional aspect. That is really my passion now. So that actually comes later in the journey. But, just trying to help her, that then changed my health and guided me to nutrition. That nutrition guided me to be a Loomis certified practitioner, which is basically the enzymes that saved my daughter's life. And from there, we went to emotions. So I'm a very well-rounded, energetic living practice.
And so what you do now, a lot of people say things like mind, body, and spirit. Even the hospital I worked with before, they used to talk about that a lot. But you really mean it. You really mean across all of those things in a way I have not seen. So for me, I've had my world opened up. My mom actually was super into nutrition, and she used to teach nutrition classes at the school, and she was in a Better Homes and Gardens magazine about her nutrition. So I knew a lot about nutrition growing up. And then I, of course, had traditional medicine and exercise and all the things that I knew from that part of my journey. And then my mom was also the one who kind of found this whole alternative health world as well. And so I grew up with a lot of awareness of a lot of different possibilities and ways to solve your own health challenges. And I think that's one of the things that people often find when they do start to have health problems is growing up, or in Western society, most of us just think you get sick, you go to the doctor. And sometimes now people are talking more about mental health and going to a psychiatrist or psychologist. But really it's this whole, everything's being so interconnected and looking at every different part of what's affecting you and your body and your experience. And I have found like silos for me. Like I found over here to go to this chiropractor, and over here to go to this osteopath, and over here to go to this, the nutritional supplements person. And so I've piecemealed it together in my life. But what I'm so amazed at and meeting you and working with you is that you go across all of that. You are not in just one arena that then somehow affects the rest, because it does, but you affect all of them across truly physical, emotional, mindset, mental wellness, all of those things. You're able to help work with and find problems. You may not be able to solve them all, from what I understand, but you can certainly pinpoint and open up what needs to happen next. Is that an accurate statement for you?
That would be a great accurate statement for me. As I was going through nutrition and learning more about nutrition, and then learning more about enzymes, the energy of enzymes, I intuitively knew that there was this huge missing piece. And so I had to really take a step back a year or two ago to really recognize what this piece was, even to recognize it in myself and just do some self-work on myself. And once I did that, then this whole picture of truly of what I wanted to encompass in my company really the picture came together very brilliantly.
So that is actually a perfect cliffhanger setup for you to fully explain what you just said, and we're getting ready to go to our first break. So let's end there. So people have to tune back in to hear the full story of what that was.
Okay.
So we're going to go ahead and take a quick break. We're going to discuss more about what that thing that you realized was missing and what you were able to do to work on yourself to be able to bring it all together. So how did you go from learning, like I was just talking about, all these different things, into pulling it all into place into one big encompassing solution that you now offer? So let's go ahead. You're listening to Bring Your Brilliance with Carla Taylor. We are interviewing Rene Deal with Energetic Living. We're talking about igniting your energy, and we will be right back.
We all have a personal brand. It's what people say about you when you're not in the room. What if you knew how to clearly and confidently communicate your value in a compelling way? Tune in to the Bring Your Brilliance radio show with personal branding and LinkedIn strategist Carla Taylor to discover the tools, resources, and inspiration you need to get started and keep growing. Are you ready to make your mark? Learn how to bring your brilliance by listening to the Bring Your Brilliance radio show every Friday at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, 9 a.m. Central, 8 a.m. Mountain, and 7 a.m. Pacific on InspiredChoicesNetwork.com.
Are you a subject matter expert? Are you here to share your expertise with an audience waiting to hear from you in only the way you can deliver? Are you ready to have your voice amplified across the airwaves? Inspired Choices Network has a global radio platform streaming to millions of people across the world. Professionally produced and supported by an accomplished team every step of the way, you can broadcast from anywhere in the world, knowing your voice matters, and we ensure it is delivered with ease and efficiency. Eager to hear your message, the world awaits. Contact us today to become an Inspired Choices Network radio host. Email becomeahost@inspiredchoicesnetwork.com.
This is the Bring Your Brilliance radio show with personal branding and LinkedIn strategist Carla Taylor. To join today's conversation, call in the U.S. at 815-880-8255 or Canada at 613-800-8736 or Skype at Inspired Choices Network. Or ask a question or send a comment by email at bringyourbrilliance@gmail.com. Now, back to the program.
Welcome back, everyone. You are listening to the Bring Your Brilliance radio show here on the Inspired Choices Network, and I am your host, Carla Taylor. Today, our topic is Ignite Your Energy. We're talking to Rene Deal, who just shared with us kind of her journey of what opened her eyes to the need for something more and different to help her own daughter and her own family. And she then has propelled that forward into understanding there was something missing, is what you mentioned right before break. So let's start there and tell us what it was that you were able to find that was missing and how you incorporated that into what you're doing now.
Thank you so much, Carla. So what happened is, I go to a lot of learning on all this, on all the digestive and all the enzymes, and I was at a particular conference, and just a friend of mine brought to me this product called Emotion Code. It's actually a program, not a product. I apologize. And this program was really very unique, and she was trying to do it with a couple other people that didn't really understand muscle response testing. So I'm like, bring it on, I've got this. So, she was working with me, and I just got so intrigued and went home and got the book and started really studying it, and then I really started working on myself as far as releasing these emotional traumas or releasing emotional baggage that I had. And even during this time, there was a statement that just stuck with me so much. And it was a statement that my husband had said to me on more than one occasion. And the statement that really just stung at my heart was, he would say, I know you love me, but I often don't feel like you love me. And that just took me aback because, at this time, this is a man that I've been with and been married. At that time was maybe 26 years. It's 29 now. And I'm like, why? Why does he not feel this deep love I have for him, for this appreciation I have for him? And what I end up discovering is I have this heart wall, I'm 51 now, and, I've had many years to build up a lot of emotional baggage, Carla. I don't know about you, but I've had a long time to build this up.
I think we all get that there for sure. By the time we get into our 40s and 50s, there's a lot that if you don't deal with it and process it, you can be carrying so much around and not even realize it. So
you really don't. You don't realize how it affects you.
Yeah. You've mentioned a couple times the muscle response testing, and of course I know what that is, but there's a lot of our listeners who probably have no idea what that even means. Let's break it down just a little bit. And so the thing that was missing was the emotional piece. Is that correct?
It is part of the piece. It was part of the piece. Yes.
Okay. So you had looked into the health and physical challenges that your daughter was having. You discovered the nutrition components behind it. Then you realized there was an emotional component that was still needing to be addressed, and you also thought in yourself, and the example that you just gave us with your husband, that you weren't showing up how you wanted to show up, and a lot of it had to do with this baggage and what you're calling a heart wall. So we're going to talk a little bit more deeper into that, but first let's just go back to that basic. What is muscle response testing, and how is that used?
Well, muscle response testing is just this ability to set aside your own energy for the energy of others. I am very Christ-centered. So when I go about doing this, I will actually just say a prayer that God will bless the session and that he will use me as a vessel, and that during that time that I become his eyes, hands, and ears to be able to deliver or hear his message. And in doing that, muscle response testing is the ability to ask a body a question and receive a response by how my muscles react. So my most common method is what's called the ring and ring method. So if I were to ask my body right now, and listeners, can't see this, so they're going to have to kind of see it in their mind. If I were to ask my body a question right now, like my name is Rene, it's a very true statement. And so my muscles, when I use what's called the ring and ring method, is going to become very taut. Okay, so it's going to be very tight. I'm not going to be able to break that bond. But if I were to say, my name is Carla right now, that bond or that muscle cannot withstand that because it's not a truthful statement. Now, how does this work when I'm working with clients? So it's almost like your body acts like a lie detector. So your body immediately knows when you're telling the truth or not, and your body muscles actually respond at a micro level to tell whether or not you're being honest or lying. So that is already fascinating, and that's something I came across a few years ago where someone was able to actually use my arm and press down on it and see if my muscle response was true or false, right? Like you're saying. But what I've never seen is what I think you're about to explain is that I thought you and I, when we first set up our session, would have to meet in person so that you could do the muscle response test on me and test my own micro level muscles to know whether or not something was true for me. However, what I learned was that we did not have to be in the same room. And in fact, we purposely did our session online through, I think it was a Zoom call or a Skype call or something. So talk to me now about that level. How does that work? How does that work? It's just incredible. So, we have this magnificent God that just has given us these beautiful abilities to help humankind. And so when I lovingly ask my God to set aside my energy for the energy of others, when I do that, then I actually am doing the lie detector test as you identify it within that person's energy. I have worked across the pond in UK. I've worked across the world in Dubai. I've worked all across the United States in doing this muscle response testing and really being able to identify what the subconscious mind or what God really needs me to know for this client to have these emotional releases, to recognize and release what is no longer serving them at a very deep level.
So your body, and this is what I observed in our session, your body actually picked up on my energy somehow through the computer even, and was able to respond in your body how my body would have responded if you had been here with me. So when you did that ring testing where you're pulling your fingers against themselves, and you were able to test, okay, my name is Carla, my name is Rene, whatever. So for me, when it was Carla, it was true and the muscles held. And when you said Rene for me, it didn't stay, even though your name is Rene. So you really were, and the whole spiritual connection too. I know a lot of people don't understand this, especially if you're hearing this for the first time, but even if you've heard it before, there are a lot of Christians who believe this is not Christian and think it's kind of wooey weirdo stuff. So talk to me a little bit about that, because I know that's something that you and I discussed briefly, but tell me more about how you see that and how it works within your Christian faith.
It took me some time to work through that, Carla. I have to be very honest. I was not going to do this originally because it didn't really feel like it fell into my Christian faith. And I kept telling this friend of mine that I was not going to go to this conference, and I just basically told her, if God wants me to go to this, he's going to have to kick me in the backside to make me go. And I kid you not, 30 days before this seminar, before I was to really learn, what I was to learn, I literally woke up one morning and I told my husband, it's like, honey, I have to go to Utah. He's like, why? I said, I don't know. I said, God's telling me I have to go. And he's like, okay, here you go. So the way I, have reconciled this within my own Christian faith is that God is more powerful, and we are the ones that put the brakes on his power for us. And so if we open ourselves up, I pray through every session, I pray every client through every release, because this is not me doing this. This is, I call upon God. I do not call upon my own power. This is not Rene Deal releasing this. This is God, and I am working on his behalf and not on my own behalf. So that is how I have reconciled myself that I am okay to do what I'm doing, because I am being spiritually led in the direction to honor God, and I have promised him that in all things that I do, that I am going to honor him.
Yeah, that's awesome. And I know we've got listeners from all around the world and of every faith, so I am asking this specifically because I know this has come up for Christians sometimes, but I do believe that there is an energy that we are all connected with, and I know a lot of Christians say, okay, well, it has to be scientifically proven, or there has to be the science behind it, or not calling upon whatever else. But you and I talked about how you really are that empty vessel, allowing God to flow through you, which is what Christians, we believe in the Bible. And the other part is, from a scientific background, one of my favorite authors and speakers is a woman named Jill Bolte Taylor, and she actually is a scientist who had a stroke herself. And so she wrote a book called A Stroke of Insight, and she's been on Oprah, and there's a TED Talk and all sorts of things with her talking about her experience. But she had a stroke and actually had enough scientific knowledge to be an observer of her own stroke experience while she was going through it, even though in that moment she couldn't speak or form logical words, because that part of her brain is where she had the stroke. But she was able to later remember and recount what happened when she did get her speaking abilities back. But she talks about not having a wall between her and everything around her. She couldn't speak, but all she could do was feel the energy of the people in her room, and of, like, in the hospital room, like when she was walking in the hallway, she could feel the energy of the patients and the doctors, and she didn't even know what the doctor was trying to tell her, but she could sense the energy that the one doctor was really worried, and another doctor came in and was very there to help some students learn. And so she could discern all of that simply from the energy in the room. And she said, when she recounts it, she didn't know where she ended and everything else began. She simply experienced the world in terms of energy. It's really fascinating. So if you're interested in that, definitely check her out, Jill Bolte Taylor. But when we come back, I want to hear, we're getting ready to go to another break. But Rene, when we come back, I want to hear much more about this then. So we've kind of got into hows of the muscle response testing and the fact that you can do it remotely. So let's get then more into what it is that you actually do and what it is that you've been able to work through with the emotion code and all of that. And I also still want to hear a little bit more about your career background and journey that got you to this point, and why you were even thinking the way you were thinking to start digging more into this and start doing it yourself. So let's go ahead and take a quick break. Again, this is Carla Taylor with the Bring Your Brilliance radio show on Inspired Choices Network, and we will be right back.
We all have a personal brand. It's what people say about you when you're not in the room. What if you knew how to clearly and confidently communicate your value in a compelling way? Tune in to the Bring Your Brilliance radio show with personal branding and LinkedIn strategist Carla Taylor to discover the tools, resources, and inspiration you need to get started and keep growing. Are you ready to make your mark? Learn how to bring your brilliance by listening to the Bring Your Brilliance radio show every Friday at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, 9 a.m. Central, 8 a.m. Mountain, and 7 a.m. Pacific on InspiredChoicesNetwork.com. This is the Bring Your Brilliance radio show with personal branding and LinkedIn strategist Carla Taylor. To join today's conversation, call in the U.S. at 815-880-8255 or Canada at 613-800-8736 or Skype at Inspired Choices Network. Or ask a question or send a comment by email at bringyourbrilliance@gmail.com. Now, back to the program.
Hello again. This is Carla Taylor on the Bring Your Brilliance radio show here on Inspired Choices Network. And we are continuing our discussion with Rene Deal about energetic living and igniting your energy. Just ended on talking about the energy that connects all of us in the world. So let's start there and pick up from there about what it is that you do with that, and now, going forward from your your story that you've been sharing with us.
Thank you so much, Carla. So what I do is I have taken the emotion code to a different level called the body code. So it's energy work, and that's really where we identify and correct imbalances that can cause emotional and physical problems for people. So our human body just has this powerful ability. We have to put forward the effort. We have to put forward the effort to make those conditions right. And that's how this beautiful ability between the emotion code and the body code comes into play. And then I work in nutrition and enzymes. So the energy of nutrition, the energy of enzymes really to heal the physical body, nutrition to heal the physical body. And then we've got the emotion code and the body code to uproot and figure out emotionally what is going on, and then to heal the emotional roots of our subconscious mind.
So the emotion code and the body code, if I understand it from having gotten a little tiny bit of experience of it, is actually a program with a series of charts and pages of information and all sorts of things that you're able to use as tools to ask certain questions and be able to go to certain places, get some answers as you're doing that muscle response testing, specifically around either something going on with, in this case, my body or my emotions as we were doing our session. Is that an accurate statement?
That is a very accurate statement, and you would be just so surprised on where what I like to call the rabbit trail. You would be so surprised to see where that rabbit trail will really take you energetically into the body. And the coolest part that I have been able to discern is when I energetically find out, where this emotion is at in the body. And let me make a statement here that when we are emotionally going through whatever negative emotion it is, that emotion is really at that particular time, no matter the age, is going to go to the weakest part of the body. And so my goal is really to find where those emotions are at, where the weak link in the body was at, and respond to that link. And really we're just calling out those emotions and really determining, okay, emotionally, what were you feeling at that time, to the point of finding the creation point. At what age was that emotion going on? Is there anything else that we need to identify with that emotion? And then how do we link that to digestively what's going on in the body? And then how can we nourish that with enzymes and food so that we can really pull you together in the full mind, body, and spirit that you and I talked about, that you talked about earlier, and how I'm really trying to guide my company that really no one else is doing.
Yeah, it's really fascinating. I think what I'm myself just starting to discover, and I know you kind of hear about it in different ways, like in psychology and everything else, they talk about being an emotional age. If you had a trauma around age 12, then you might be stuck emotionally at that age. But I've never really heard it the way that you just explained it. And we all can even observe, like when you're going through a heartache, it's called a heartache because it actually aches in your physical heart. It physically hurts when you're going through that emotion. And in fact, both of my sons recently have had some challenges with girlfriends over the summer, and they've both been talking to me about this heartache that they're feeling and how do they work through those emotions. And so we recognize it when we're going through something, that physical response. But what I hear you talking about, and what I'm starting to recognize too, is not only do you have it in that moment, but those things then almost like imprint into our bodies and might stay there if we don't deal with them. And that's fascinating to me, that we not only carry psychologically those issues that might have stunted our mental and emotional growth, but it's actually physically affecting our body, even something that might have happened. And you and I did this in our session. I think it was something from like 10 or more years ago that we needed to address it. I had no idea. I personally had no idea that was anything that was affecting me whatsoever until it came up for us. So talk to me a little bit more about some of that.
That part is, to me, still just blows my mind. It is when I am able to locate, this creation time and kind of take the client back to that time. It's like, basically what we have to do is recognize and honor the emotion of that particular time period. It's not necessarily that we have to talk, for 2 hours about that particular moment, like a psychologist or a psychiatrist, which is not what I am. What we have to do is we have to recognize that emotion. We have to call it out and say, I recognize what is going on. I know exactly why it's there. Now, why is it there? Because when we, I think I said this to you during our session, is Carla, when we're running from the bear, and that bear can be, a physical bear where you're running from the bear. It can be a nutritional bear. It can be a structural bear where something is structurally going on with our body, or it can be an emotional bear. So whatever that emotional bear is, it could be a divorce. It could be, a sick child. It can be, it could be legal issues. Whatever that bear is that's chasing you, the problem with that is we have a tendency to stuff it down, and we stuff it down, and we don't really recognize it, honor it, and go through the emotion at the time. So it's like we stop the tears, we stop the emotional reaction because we don't have time to honor that moment that we're having, because we're too afraid if we let it go at that particular time that we're actually just going to lose it. We're going to have a nervous breakdown. We're going to, we're going to be put in the loony bin, or people are going to see us as weak. Mm-hmm. And, that is really a really bad part about our society is people are said to be weak if they show their emotions. Mm-hmm. I don't understand that. And so what our goal is really is to go back in time, recognize why that emotion was there, call it out, let's release it, let's pray through it, and let's let God take care of it. Let's lay that at the cross and let's be done with it. And let's let that emotional healing transfer to the physical body. Now, the physical body, we've uprooted, some of that emotion. Now we can look at the physical body. Now, what do I need to do to support and nourish your physical body? And my specialty is working with, I'm a Loomis certified practitioner, and so that's working with enzymes to really pinpoint exactly what's going on, and then what nutrition also can help to nourish the body, so that, we're having just a very, very thorough and well-rounded ability for the body to pick up and heal on its own.
That's so awesome. And I love what you're describing earlier with that process of letting it go. And just coincidentally, or whatever you want to call it, right before I got ready to come on this show, I was talking to my 17-year-old son. He said, "Mom, how do I let emotions go?" Like, literally, that was his question to me because he wanted to get over a girlfriend, that an ex-girlfriend. And it's that letting go. And as I talk to him, it's kind of like you have to have this release valve, or it's like a pressure cooker, that if you keep those emotions in and stuff them down, which is actually typically what he does a lot. I think we all do, of course. But it will explode out in yucky, awful ways and inopportune moments if we don't deal with it in the moment. And so I think that happens in our bodies too, when we don't release something and we're just stuffing it down. And some of it, absolutely, I think we have a society where people still often feel weak if they show emotion. But the other part of it is, and you and I talked about this for my own life, is that I am busy. And if anybody knows me, I've been a single mom of triplets for many, many years. I've been a business owner. I don't have time. Whether I want to cry or not, I don't have time to deal with most of my emotions because I'm just always running, always on the go, always going from one thing to the next. And I really feel like sometimes I just have to like shore up and get through the day. But now I've had years and years and years and years of that. And I have had emotions come spilling out sometimes at really crazy moments. In fact, one of the people that I work with and have a great relationship with now, but initially our first meeting, he said something like, "How are you?" And I started crying, and it was completely inappropriate, but it just all came out in that moment. And so I've experienced that personally. What was fascinating to me, Rene, is something that you opened my eyes up to that I've been trying to solve for so many years. And again, if you've known me for a while, you know that I have struggled with losing weight, and I've lost it and gained it back. And, you know, everybody's story, I guess, a lot of people's story that have that challenge. And so I've been trying to solve that, and I've been working out like crazy, and I've been trying to eat nutritionally, and I've been doing all the things that you're supposed to do. I've done Whole30. I've done all of these things. And it hasn't really worked, or it's only worked for a time. And everybody keeps saying there's something wrong that you're doing wrong. It's a simple equation, calories in, calories out. There's nothing more to it. And I don't believe that's true. I haven't believed that's true, but you so validated that for me as we were working on some of that stuff for me. And what you said, and I'll let you say it better, but what you told me was that it was almost like, because I'm always almost in this like fight or flight or just battling through my days, that I haven't had the time to process or do anything. So I'm always in that fight or flight. And so I think the way you described it was like I had a big giant hole in my bucket. So no matter what I put in or even took out, if I was trying to exercise or do these healthy things, there's this giant gaping hole nutritionally for me, or maybe you can explain that more. But it was keeping me from having those things have the effect on me that they should have. And so it was just like this, for me, huge moment of relief, like, oh, there's not something terribly wrong with me other than what's terribly wrong with me that I need to deal with, but I am not doing something wrong other than having not found a way to address this. And I'm so thrilled to have found you and be able to address this in a way that I never even knew existed. So that has been so eye-opening and so much hope for me to know. The other thing I think we figured out is that of the excess weight that I'm carrying, I think 80 to 90% of it is this emotional weight, which, again, I kind of probably figured I knew that, but correct me on the parts that I'm wrong, but tell me more about all of that and what other people can learn from my own example, as well as other examples that you've had of people that you've worked with.
So what I have found is that we can actually measure emotional weight on people through using the muscle response testing, which I have done this own thing on myself. And so what we do is we use that part and we really identify, okay, what emotions is going on within those particular pounds of weight that we need released. But speaking to the bear, running from the bear in this bucket, so you've been running from the bear for so long, and Carla Taylor starts her day off in running, and she ends her day running. And so the goal here, or the problem is since you start your day running, your body never really has an opportunity to have the nice ups and downs like I normally would have. I don't start at 10 at the beginning in the morning. I usually start at about 2, and then I ramp up to 5, and I go back down. Then I ramp up to 7 and go back down. Where someone like you starts at 10, ends at 10, so your body never gives a break. Well, the problem with that is your digestive system cannot keep up with that. So your digestive system will actually stop operating at optimal level because it says, you know what? She is running along too fast. I can't keep up. So all the energy that we need needs to go to the muscles. It doesn't need to go to the digestive system. And then we keep running. Months turn into years. Years keep turning into more years. And so now we say, okay, well, she's going to keep running. She's not going to learn her lesson. So now we're going to start shutting.
I think we might have missed the last part that you said. Are you still there, Rene? Okay, so let's take a quick break, and when we come back, we're going to hear more about what Rene was just explaining, because I think it's absolutely fascinating. I need to hear it more myself, but I think so many of us start the day running in gear and just never, ever stopping running, and there's so many busy people in my life that I know that are the same. So let's talk more about that when we get back from break.
We all have a personal brand. It's what people say about you when you're not in the room. What if you knew how to clearly and confidently communicate your value in a compelling way? Tune in to the Bring Your Brilliance radio show with personal branding and LinkedIn strategist Carla Taylor to discover the tools, resources, and inspiration you need to get started and keep growing. Are you ready to make your mark? Learn how to bring your brilliance by listening to the Bring Your Brilliance radio show every Friday at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, 9 a.m. Central, 8 a.m. Mountain, and 7 a.m. Pacific on InspiredChoicesNetwork.com. This is the Bring Your Brilliance radio show with personal branding and LinkedIn strategist Carla Taylor. To join today's conversation, call in the U.S. at 815-880-8255 or Canada at 613-800-8736 or Skype at Inspired Choices Network. Or ask a question or send a comment by email at bringyourbrilliance@gmail.com. Now, back to the program.
Okay, so welcome back. We were just hearing from Rene, and unfortunately had a little bit of a technical difficulty when she dropped off. This is, again, it's Carla Taylor with the Bring Your Brilliance radio show, and we are talking to Rene Deal about energetic living. We were just talking about how I discovered through a session about how when you're always running and on the go, your body doesn't respond to the nutrition intake or the things that it was needing. So Rene, if you could just kind of start there and talk a little bit again more about how that works on our bodies when we don't give ourselves any kind of downtime or any kind of break.
So when we don't give ourselves any type of downtime.
Uh-oh. Well, I really want to hear this, so I'm hoping that we can hear again. Are you still there, Rene?
I am.
Oh, there you are. Okay, keep going.
I have been here. I'm not sure what's going on. Don't you just love live podcasts? Anyway.
It's all part of it, live and unfiltered. Here we are.
Live and unfiltered. So when we operate let's say at a state of 10, our mind is always hyperactive. And we go to bed being hyperactive. We wake up being hyperactive, and we're just so busy with our day, doesn't allow the body to rest. And so therefore, the digestive system will, for lack of better words, will shut down. Now, it's doing what it has to do, but it's only doing the minimal instead of being optimized. So the digestive system is to shut down because the energy from the digestive system needs to transfer to the muscles so that the muscles can power through your day. And then we're going to shut down the reproductive system because we don't need the reproductive system. The body doesn't, we don't need to be having sex because we got more important things going on in our life than having to worry about sex. That energy to being able to even do that. And this is part of the reason that so many women are having so much trouble getting pregnant because they're just so busy in their lives that they can't. This energy is being transferred out to the muscles instead of nourishing their reproductive and endocrine system. So it's a whole fat, protein, and carb problem where you're not able to digest. And then we got the emotional, and then we have structural. So it's like this huge, it's just a huge problem. I don't even know how to say how big it is, but yeah.
Well, we know that being too busy can be a challenge or be hard, but I never really understood the scientific reasons behind how it actually affects our body if all of the nutrition and everything, all the energy that we have is going towards this constant feeding of that always on response. I was actually just talking to someone who travels all the time and she's super busy and she's hoping to get pregnant, but exactly that. Like our bodies are not prepared to send stuff everywhere. So it's going to go to the most important immediate need, which is keeping us going. For those of us who are movers and shakers, sometimes we might need to move and shake a little bit less so that we can be healthy and have full health as we go. And that's really what I wanted to talk about, is that energy that we need, because I think when we are bringing our brilliance, we do want to bring our best, but we can't always be on and always bringing it out to the world.
You really have to find a balance through your day. You have to be able to get the ability to wake up at a normal level and not just jump out of bed and start working. You have to honor the body and what the body can do. And when you're someone like yourself that is a woman that is constantly on the go, you're going to have to find some really unique ways to really bring your beautiful body down, your beautiful energy down, and just kind of honor that you need to slow down during certain times of your day. So whether you start out a little bit slower in the morning or you give yourself an hour at night just to really, do some meditation, color, slow down, just rest and relax. And I would recommend that of a morning for at least, 30 minutes where you get your day going, and at least an hour at the end of your day to get before you end your day.
Well, and that's why, and it's just so funny. I've heard everywhere I go, people talk about the need for a morning routine or an evening routine. And it always felt like, oh, that's a nice to have. I'll do that sometimes. I'll do that when I have time. But truly, it's affecting our health and our bodies and our emotions and everything else that is fed by that. It's not just, here's a nice thing to do in your schedule, but it truly is what is going to keep us going and ignite and keep our energy ignited and going to be able to go to fuel all the things that we want to do, or we will not be able to do it. And it's not just a matter of exhaustion. It's everything that you just uncovered for us about how it's feeding our body nutritionally and everything else. This is such fascinating stuff. I wish we had another hour to talk to you, and I can't believe how quickly this one has gone by. We are here at the end, so is there anything, one kind of last words of wisdom or something for us to know, as well as how to reach you, that you'd like to share with us?
Absolutely. I can be reached at energeticlivingindy.com, and then I also can be reached at 317-258-2754. And I would just really love to work with your viewers and listeners, and just really to explain exactly how the whole energy of the body just can come together in this beautiful process.
Wonderful. Well, I think we're going to be hearing a lot more from you, and maybe seeing some articles and different things to hear more about what it is that you do and how you can help. I love that you can help people anywhere in the world. So truly, no matter where you are listening to this, you can reach out and connect with Rene and be able to experience one of her sessions for yourself and see what it is that we're talking about when we're talking about all of these different things. It's really something I think you have to experience to truly understand it. So we will be sharing so much more information about all of this. I love hearing what you do, Rene, and I'd love to talk more about it, and maybe we can have a part 2 very soon. But thanks so much for your time. Thank you so much for going through that session with me so I could truly understand what it is that you do and be able to talk more about it and experience it. And like I said, I'm definitely going to be doing a lot more sessions with you, because I really feel like you are the missing link that I've had in trying to pull everything together and have it work for me in my life. So up next, we have next week, it's actually going to be the first of the Friday of the month. So I will be sharing one of my strategies sessions, which means that I will be talking a little bit more about personal branding, what it means for you, and how it can help you in bringing your brilliance to the world. We will see you next week here on InspiredChoicesNetwork.com.
Thanks for listening to another episode of Bring Your Brilliance with Carla Taylor. For the latest updates and info on personal branding, please follow and interact with Carla Taylor on LinkedIn. And be sure to visit www.itstimetoBringIt.com. Join Carla Taylor every Friday at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, 9 a.m. Central, 8 a.m. Mountain, and 7 a.m. Pacific on InspiredChoicesNetwork.com. Until then, keep shining.